This podcast is sponsored by RSA Rock and Metal Fans Facebook page.
A nameless dread. Now, when I set up the meeting, I put a nameless dead because I'm a blind old dickhead and I couldn't see the R. And I was like, actually, that's not a bad name for a band. And then I read again and said dread. I said, whoa, that's like that's even better. How did you get the name A Nameless Dread?
Damian, do you want to take this one or?
Yeah, happily. So Tim and Rhett kind of, they wanted to start a band after me and Tim weren't sorted together. And we, they approached me as guitarist, and obviously I was keen. I just wanted to, get out there, and it was cool to start something fresh,
Yeah.
I'd met Rhett once, I think, for an audition for a sorted vocalist. But we kind of just at my place, and we just, kind of just to mingle and chat and kind of get a concept going for the band, right? And very quickly, Rhett and I discovered we had a common love for cosmic horror, so like the works of H.P. Lovecraft and, things like that. And also the SCP Wiki online, all sort of these mysterious things that you can't understand. Us as mere mortals, we could never understand the true nature of what's going on in the cosmos, And we were getting more and more excited. We were outside by my place and chatting, and the way that I put it together was, we cannot understand what dreadful things are happening out there. There's a nameless dread, and we can't comprehend it. And immediately Tim and Rhett were just like, whoa, good band name. And that was that.
Yeah, geez, way to go. Yeah, I mean, that sort of explains something that I was watching about half an hour ago was some Gojira videos. Are you guys trying to head the same way with messages within A Nameless Dread? Is it a concept album that you're going to be releasing, or what is the thought process behind the band?
So I'll take the first part of it, and then Rhett, you can explain the lyrical content.
Cool.
As a band, it was just a great. I love a band with a strong concept. As much as I love just like cool, there's a band, there's gore, that's done, or whatever the case is. I really enjoyed when there's a unified vision behind a band, and that's kind of why we latched onto this. And it's actually incidentally why we also only have one guitarist. We didn't want to dilute our sort of the really cool vibe and vision and direction that we had going. So just as a band, we said let's. We are a cult, but we didn't want to be like a cult, like a comedy cult, like Halloween masks and stuff. We said, if no one knew,
we're not doing the ghost thing.
Exactly, yeah. But if someone kind of became familiar with us and didn't know better, they might say, wow, these guys are actually worshipping something. We wanted to kind of take it seriously, not too seriously, but sort of, like the kind of subdued, no, we are a cult. We are summoning the older ones. We are bringing forth the Nameless Dread. So as a band, we had that. As for the album and its lyrical content, Rhett, you go for it.
So it kind of just sort of backs up exactly what you said, Damian, where it's just illustrating the various forms of kind of like the cosmic horror and how it affects, sort of the human race and how the human race kind of reacts to it. Just to kind of go with, I suppose, what would be the kind of, I suppose you'd call it the second single, The Great Unclean.
Mm-hmm.
That's just basically sort of what's the word I'm looking for? An analogy of, sort of the darker forces kind of just spreading their influence, taking over, and then humanity kind of uniting behind it as kind of like this cult of disease, basically.
Right.
So that's kind of one instance of it.
Yeah, something that we just said when we were putting our literature together for the band and our websites and whatnot. We kind of said it draws from like various apocalypses in pop culture, and we're massive fans of Warhammer 40k as well. And there's the four chaos gods, and the Great Unclean is obviously Nurgle, and it's also what's quite cool about that song. Obviously, it's metal and it's a dreadful thing that we're speaking about, but it's actually almost like a slightly joyful song in a way, and we are saying we, the Great Unclean, and it's, you must be
it's
joyful.
Like a sort of a unifying chant, especially with sort of that pre-chorus. Damian, you know which part I'm talking about?
Yes.
But you'll have to wait for the live show for that one.
Okay, cool. Tim, welcome to the party.
Howdy.
Yeah,
I was actually here like 5 minutes earlier, but I didn't put the call through. I'm just blankly looking at my phone going, I wonder when we're going to start.
I hope you're not like this on stage. Yeah?
Well, you know what they say about bases, right? That
Always
is
on time, but never on time.
mid-suicide, jumps behind a moving train.
Oh dear. God.
I
Okay.
haven't heard that one before. It's always nice to have a new bass player joke.
Yeah, it's what us and the drummers, and the drummer's not there, so yeah.
The drummer's, yeah, but he just hasn't got his audio sorted out yet. So we're just waiting.
So he said he's got a little network issue.
Oh right, okay.
Looks like there's a massive storm pulling over the east side here. So
shit. Okay.
I'm in Alberton, he's in Germiston, so they normally get hit quite hard there.
In more ways than one.
That's true.
So what genre is A Nameless Dread? Is it extreme metal? I don't know. I don't know.
Like I think extreme metal is kind of like a good kind of umbrella term for it. Like all four of us have so many kind of different influences. You know, Damian's kind of like the tech snob. No offense.
No, it's true. It's true.
Tech snob.
Yeah, like Tim. I don't know. I'd say you take like a more kind of, I wouldn't say straightforward approach to it, but you're more kind of, you know what I'm trying to say. Like I tend towards more like the kind of horror, you know, really gory, sort of deathy stuff. Des also kind of is more very much on the straight brutal death side of things.
Yeah, and a lot of grind and things like that. We've actually, we've kind of shied away from putting our peg in the ground anywhere and saying we are this genre or whatever, just because I think we actually, I don't know. I don't really care too much either, but I'd like to see what the fans say eventually when the album's out and how we get classified there, because I think we do have a really cool mix of sounds and influences. It's hard to pick down.
We got groove in there as well. There's a little bit of that kind of style in. So, throw it out, let the people decide what they want, what they feel it is.
Yeah, sure. No, look, I've been very fortunate enough to get the album from Devo and had a listen over the last couple of days. And when it first started, I was like, fuck me, what the fuck? Jeez. Fuck.
Okay, that's exactly what we were going for.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably the right reaction. But, towards the end of the album, I was like, I'm more of a classic metal guy. Heavy metal, not just metal, but heavy metal, and towards the end of the album, it gets more sort of traditional metal, if I can even say that. I mean, it doesn't, but it kind of.
I know what you're saying, though. Yeah, I get exactly what you're saying.
The last two tracks, The Resurrectionist and Cold Black, those two to me are more groovy, heavy, sort of almost bordering on like Pantera, but
yeah,
like from or far beyond driven, but much more heavy. If I can, I don't know. I'm just trying to.
Yeah, like maybe like a modernized, or not modern, but you know what I mean, like a kind of a more like contemporary take version on that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And thanks. That's high praise. The Resurrectionist in particular.
So he actually brings up a good point with the Pantera thing. That last break in Cold Black is very much like the breakdown in Domination.
Yes.
That is actually exactly what happened. We were talking about, me and Rhett were talking, I think, and we said, let's just get like a nice heavy break in there. Yeah. And, I didn't know what to do, a little bit of writer's block. The song was actually completed already, as far as we were concerned.
Right, okay.
And then I was watching, I think, Pantera when they played in Russia with Metallica and all of that. And it with Domination when that, and then that breakdown hits, it's just the whole world slows down. And I'm like, I have to capture that feeling again.
Yeah. Well, that's. I mean, it does it really well. It's fucking nailed to the cross. Fucking all beautiful. But
thank you.
The album is actually produced and mixed by you, Damian.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
So how did you got your own studio? How did that happen?
I've been playing guitar forever, basically. It's over 20 years now, and I'm just the kind of guy of, I want to do everything myself. Sometimes I take on more than I can chew, as the other guys will say. But I don't like to rely too much on other people and stuff like that. And especially when I was between bands and things like that, I wanted to record my own stuff and just geek out. I'm also a major tech nerd. I'm a software developer by trade. Right, so I just like cool toys and things like that. And I sort of built up, as with my own private sort of, dabblings.
Right.
I got to a point where I actually built up a bit of a studio. I'm very lucky to have the space, and I can make a bit of noise here. So yeah, upstairs in my house I have a studio. The guys will tell you it's my happy place. There's big amps, and we did everything here. We did all the guitars, all the bass, vocals came out. I'm very chuffed with the vocals. We did the drums.
Yeah, no, the
drums
vocals were. No, I'm saying
Rhett.
the vocals just came out perfectly, even without the the booth and all that stuff. You just killed it.
Yeah, we just got a great room sound here for vocals. Luckily enough, the drums were one thing we had to do electronic because they get a bit loud, but. Used Get Good Drums Invasion on that. Reamped everything myself, and I'm very proud of how it came out. I'm very chuffed. I can't wait for everyone to hear it.
Well, it's a fucking talk about a debut album that's gonna clap people right between the eardrums. That's beautiful. Extremely well done.
Oh yeah,
it's self-recorded. I guess more and more bands are leaning to doing a home studio recording.
Look, the
during
only thing
COVID,
that
I
you
guess.
can't buy these days is you can't buy the experience. But I remember my first kind of band. I was bassist in a deathcore band called Under the Chernobyl Cloud over a decade ago.
Wow.
And we paid good money to have like a recording done, and it sounded fine. It wasn't like international quality, but it was okay.
Right.
These days, if you have a laptop and call it $3-4 grand, you can pump out something that's very, very respectable. There's so many great free amp simulators, and so many good products out there. I've gone a bit overboard. I like my toys, but the barrier to entry, if you have the time and the willpower to figure out how to do this kind of stuff, you can do it on such a tight budget. It's amazing what you can do these days.
Well, the thing is, we know, particularly now in 2020, that the entertainment and arts industry is fucked, basically. And people look at it as
mildly.
Put it mildly, yeah. It's not even mildly fucked, it's completely fucked. But it's fucked as it is. And it was probably not that great to begin with anyway. Now, to have COVID come along, how did you guys survive keeping up with practice and all that sort of shit?
So, the way that we started this band, we said we don't want to be the kind of band that, practice every single week and gig every single weekend. We're all, we're getting older. We're all over 30. Des is a young chap though, but we're getting on. Des as a kid. We sort of, we can't afford to, give every waking hour to this, but we do love we love music, we love the genre, we believe what we're doing here. So the metal scene, obviously there's, you don't do it to get rich. Even overseas, the bass bands are, they're barely breaking even when they do tours and stuff like that. So especially in this country, we kind of came in here saying, look, we want to spend, we'll do this for the enjoyment, we do it for the love, we don't want to make money from it. And we're all in a very fortunate position to be able to do that. We've kept practice to a minimum until now.
I think that is absolutely spot on, because I think that is missing in a lot of bands that are starting out. They think it's a shortcut to fucking being glorified and making money. And they don't. I think youngsters don't actually realize the amount of work and dedication that goes into it. I think that is lacking in this in this industry. And I think technology has a massive part to play with that. Because of that, and I'm old school, like I've said already. So, fuck it, whatever. Just do it for the fucking love of it.
Exactly, and I think that's why metal in general is, it's quite an authentic genre. There's not a lot, you can't really sell out in the genre. Maybe you can a little bit these days, but
I don't know. Ask Metallica, they do right.
Large, yeah, like if you
mind you, we are talking
about
like not hard rock, so yeah.
No, but still, I mean,
But
if you're not like Metallica or Maiden or something like that, you're not going to get much. You're not going to get a foot in the door. You have to have a day job and things like that. And I think that's what keeps the more extreme, like the extreme side of metal, honest. It's a bunch of dudes and chicks that just, they wrote it in a garage. They can perform it. If you wake them up middle of the night and say, play this song, they'll play it. They live and breathe this thing, and that's what I love. I think a lot of technology has made it easier to, a bit of auto-tune here. You can punch in guitars like 1 second at a time, and you can speed things up and play things. And that's one thing I did try with the album. The guys will say, nothing There's nothing fake here, you know. There's small imperfections here and there. There's little squeaks and squeals and feedback, and one like timing I didn't fix too much. I want it to be authentic because you can give me, you know, I work with software and AI and stuff like that as a profession.
Right.
And if you gave me a song and I said, this is the most brutal, the most amazing song I've heard in my life, which band is this? And you said it was written by AI, I never want to hear that song again. Not being snobbish, but a big part of this entire genre, the music, it has to do with the love and the human element. So I think getting rid of that in any way is terrible.
You've nailed it big time, because I think it's all about authenticity and being human. You know, whether that's actually a fucking thing, I don't know. But you know, I'm not a musician
Definitely
myself,
is. You know, I mean, you know, knowing that you hear someone shred or whatever the case is, you know that they locked themselves in a room, and you know, when they didn't have a girlfriend, they were just playing guitar 8 hours a day. And you know, when you hear someone screaming like a demon, you know that it's because they sound like a poople in their car on the way to work or whatever the case is. It's dedication and it's a true love for the genre.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So the debut album, The First Nothing, coming out 31st of October. Perfect day, Halloween.
Yeah, it worked out quite nicely.
Yeah, that's great. I mean,
also full moon as well on Halloween, and it's the first Halloween on a Saturday in ages.
Oh, you see, no, it's aligned to be.
You know, the goth guy would know this sort of thing.
It's like marked in my calendar.
Really?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Album launches according to the phases of the moon.
Exactly.
He's
Like, I
probably
mean, this
got
is
a
like as close to a religious holiday as I get.
He's probably got a unicorn calendar up or something.
Who told you?
Well, if he doesn't, I'm going to sneak into his mouth and step one up.
Yeah.
Fucking hell, that's brilliant. All right, so what is the Mayans' zero concept?
You know what? I was really sick one day. This was when it was still in its infancy. Like I wrote a bit of The Great Unclean. So we had like a kind of a direction, you know?
Right.
And I was sick and I was like feeling very sorry for myself in bed. And also I never get sick. So it was like, I don't know what to do with myself. And I think I was watching QI actually. And the symbol came up and they said, they were talking about how zero, the concept of nothing, was not actually a thing. Like there wasn't a zero for any mathematical things or anything like that.
Right.
And, there were a few civilizations very early on that, kind of coined this concept, for bookkeeping or anything like that. And the example they used was the Mayans, who were very early on this. And it was like our band logo is actually an adaptation of that logo. And, if I put the kind of H.P. Lovecraft spin on it, I suggested the first nothing, because it was the first idea of absolutely nothing, and I just thought it was a really cool and ominous concept, and we just ran with it.
I want to speak to the singer, Rhett. Dude, how's your fucking voice at the end of sessions?
If I warm up and I treat it properly, it's fine.
Do you treat it properly, though?
Most of the time. I can, and Damian will agree with me, I can get a little carried away sometimes. You get lost in the moment and sort of overextend myself, but,
is there
had lots of time to practice.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, you must have. I mean, is there a technique and is it like an exercise that you've got to do, or how do you get that?
It's just practice. It is an exercise. You're basically working, different muscle groups, especially your diaphragm. Obviously, the muscles in your throat, just opening and closing them to get the pitch without actually hurting yourself. Biggest lessons I've learned doing it are, number one, don't try to sing over the band. They're always going to be louder than you. Just do your thing and listen to your monitor and don't worry about the rest of them. And yeah, just really, sorry, I had a long day at work, so my brain's a little bit mushy.
what I can jump in there, obviously I worked with Rhett on the album, and he, first of all, he's an amazing vocalist. You can, I think a lot of people, you can teach people to sing, the same with screaming. But, Rhett was really a one-take wonder on almost every track. He just laid it down.
You're going to make me blush.
You should, though. So he really just nailed it one shot. Then we quickly do backing vocals, and that's that. But one thing that became very obvious, and it actually kind of taught me a little bit about this sort of thing, was if I had his headphones too low, he started pushing too hard.
Right.
And that's exactly what it's saying, where, you mustn't try to scream louder than a guitar. No one can do that, But if you let the amps or the microphone do the work, that's what you should be doing. And it's actually surprising, the volume of a vocalist, like someone like Rhett, sounds like, Satan himself, but the volume is surprisingly low. And the other thing, I've did a bit of backing vocals and stuff. I'm nowhere near Rhett's level, but it's a massive skill to be able to have enough breath to sound like that for long enough. It is insane. I don't know how he does it.
Yeah, I think the thing is...
I quit smoking. That helped.
Yeah, you quit smoking. Yeah, there you go. You see now. That's a good... Yeah, dedicated to your craft, man. Good man.
No, exactly. And
you got
Corona
to
helped as well.
And you got to be fit as well. I mean, that's part of how it is nowadays, isn't it? When you can't go around getting slaughtered and then going on stage and... you can. End up being fucked up.
With my previous band, we kind of had a rule that you're allowed like one shot and one beer and no more before the show.
Wow, I wouldn't have lasted 5 seconds.
You can't perform drunk. It's impossible.
Yeah.
You get sloppy, you mess up. It's not nice.
Tim, how's the game?
Yeah, right, me, man.
He's just been sitting there for the last fucking 50 minutes saying fuck all.
Dude, it's the typical. It's the bassist, right? You'll notice when I'm not there.
Just when the conversation starts coming to an end, that's when we notice you.
That's it. That's how things work.
You're like the naughty kid in the back of the class.
Yeah, I've got to keep quiet. Stuffing my face over here with some like Cuban pork kebab. So hell.
Tim, how did you start playing bass? Was it always your instrument?
Funnily enough, no. I actually, I suppose I started wanting to learn to play guitar, and I started learning. A friend of mine at the time was in a band, and I saw him on stage. I was doing homeschooling at the time, so I'd grown my hair out midway grade 10, so I went to Zeppelin's and checked these guys performing on stage, and I was like, you know what, I want to do that. And I started learning to play guitar and just never really felt right. And then I kind of had, that by the power of Grayskull moment at Marshall Music when I picked up a bass, and it's just like, it fits so well. And at the time as well, riding through the new metal phase, like a lot of us did. And, Korn was a big influence for me at that time.
Nice
yeah, look, if I listen to my the earliest recordings that we did, I had such a bad sound. It's actually ridiculous. It was all just clank, no style, But that's where we go from there. And having been in a band with Damian, having worked with Damian, because Damian used to be a bassist as well. He's a really good bass player as well, not just a guitarist who plays bass, but a really good bassist.
He's a man of all talents, eh? Jeez.
Yeah, and funny enough, Rhett was a bassist in his previous band as well. So it's a band of almost bass.
The pressure is on you, man. Fucking hell.
Yeah, but it's the thing is working with Damian. He has a very unique way of writing and things like that. So I had to up my game. Which I think has come along, and
it really has leaps and bounds.
Thank you very much, man. Yeah, no, definitely. Look, so you can't just stand around in the back like a wallflower, like I've been doing in this conversation when playing in a band with Damian. It doesn't work.
Pressure's on, man.
And doubly so because there's only one guitarist. Live. I actually have a very complicated setup to try and make it sound like there's two guitarists, and I have my fun there. But ultimately, I need my backup, and Tim is my only backup when it comes to the string section. So and Tim is. Tim, like I'm going to call a spade here, but your right hand was a bit sloppy all these years ago when we first met.
Not a bit. And was a hell.
And now, like when we had a sorted reunion gig, the dude rocks up with a fretless bass and nails it. So I mean, that just shows how this oak has leveled up. It's insane.
Nice.
It was just because my normal bass wasn't tuned right, and I didn't want to do a new setup and all of that.
So you were lazy. So you brought a
fretless,
lazy.
Lazy with your fretless.
You can't be lazy with a fretless.
No, not a fucking chance. You got to know your shit. So Tim, what is your rig rundown, man? Let's go through that because we're going to be fast approaching the conversation.
I use Warwick basses.
Okay.
But I always used to use Ibanez, but switched over to Warwick. Just like their mid-range sound is a lot better for the kind of stuff we're doing now.
Right.
I'm running that through Marshall MBH 450 head, which is it's the last series of bass amps that Marshall produced before selling out to Eden Amplification.
Ooh, okay.
Going through a PV 410. So I mean, things built like a tank, but massive sound. And then my Dark Glass B7K, because there's nothing quite like the overdrive of a Dark Glass. That thing is dirty as hell, bro.
Yeah, dirty as hell, bro, on a good day. Yeah, fucking hell.
Yeah, it's dirty. That shit ain't right.
Damien, what's your rig rundown, man? Let's have it.
I'll give the abridged version
Yeah,
because I can
please
go on for hours. So I'm a massive fan of Ibanez guitars. I've got 16 of them, so you know, there should be.
How much money do you get paid during the day at your day job? Fucking 16 guitars. You gotta be kidding me.
I've got 17. The other ones are Ormsby.
Oh, fuck's sake. He's got 17.
What's about his amps and his cabs?
Yeah, so Ibanez and Ormsby for my guitars, tuned to drop B. My main amplifier is a Engel Special Edition E670 that I imported from Germany. That's the mothership.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, I'm playing in stereo. So the second one that I'm leading to these days, it's Diesel Einstein, which is amazing. They're like if it takes me, I've also got an orange Rocker Verb and a Frameless Dragon. So. But the Engel is my cornerstone. The Engel is just the most amazing amplifier. It's got 4 channels. Each of them have 2 sounds. You can do anything on that. No. Pedal board is pretty, it has the things you'd expect. It has MXR boost on it just to push the amps a little bit. It has a noise gate.
What do you do when you play live? How many guitars do you take with you?
I always take 2 guitars. Actually, the first gig we ever played, I took my Ormsby out. We were rocking out. It was great. And a dude came flying into the mosh pit and head-butted my volume knob on the guitar, like head on. And guitar was dead. Luckily, no like cosmetic damage or anything, but the guitar was dead. And that's why I always take 2 guitars because, you don't want to sit there trying to fix a guitar. I mean, it was like the guys will tell you, 30 seconds, had another guitar, and we just carried on playing. So, I always take 2 guitars to a gig.
There's a life lesson, people. If you're a guitarist, take 2 guitars with you just in case.
Yeah, and a little bit of professionalism. Exactly, yeah, dude. Like, just that little bit of preparedness. It's not a lot of extra work, but, you don't like seeing a band dying on stage while, oh, guys, does anyone have a tuner or whatever the case is? I don't know,
Yeah.
It just feels good and feels badass when you just, okay, next guitar, let's go. And it doesn't have to be expensive stuff. Just, that little bit of professionalism is really amazing.
Yeah, it goes a long way. So what is the funniest thing that's ever happened other than having your volume knob getting knocked the fuck out?
Look, we've only ever had 1 gig.
So you guys are a young band. I mean, you're talking 2019 is when you were formed.
Yeah. But I mean, all of us go very far back. I mean, even Des, he plays for about 1 million bands. Drummers are rare as hen's teeth.
Yeah.
Tim, do you maybe want to tell that story when we were playing?
Very few good ones.
You mean the leg sitter and the pedal board sitter?
Yeah, tell that story. It was sorted, but I mean, there were 2 of us there. So
go on then. Just go for it.
In our previous band, Sorted, we were playing a gig and. Like Damian and I, we both use wireless systems. So Damian tends to run around in the crowd, and when I feel that he's spending too much time in the crowd, I'll go and chase him around in the crowd. So Damian was sitting he was on the tables in the back of the club, busy doing like a Coyote Ugly thing while playing mid-set, dancing on the tables over there, and. All of a sudden, he goes from full-on distortion to like clean. I mean, like country blues clean.
Oh.
And he runs back to see what the hell's happened. And here's this chick. She's just gone and like sat right on his pedal board. She switched off his distortion. So he just like kind of tapped her off there. And in the middle of this, I was headbanging in the crowd. I go turn around to start walking away. And I realize I can't move. I'm like, wow, what the hell has happened here? I look down, and this very same chick is now wrapped around my leg like a koala hugging a tree. And I'm now trying to drag myself and her attached to my leg back to the stage. So yeah.
Oh, that's cool. That's quite funny. Rhett, what's a funny story, man? Go on. As a vocalist, you've got to have a funny story there. So it can be any band.
Actually, as the previous band where I was playing bass. Oh yeah. No, I was actually doing guest vocals for Deadline way back when at
Deadline,
Bournemouth.
the Rocker
Remember
Boys.
that place?
Yeah, classic.
Deadline.
So we were doing a cover of Rebel Yell, and they
wow,
called me
okay.
up on stage, and that Bournemouth stage was just like a weird height. So I thought, let me be cool and jump up there.
Oh, yeah.
Wow, I failed hard. Like my foot caught, I went face down onto the snake cable. I was like, done.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's probably the worst one for me.
Well, okay, guys. Well, I'm glad I'm not a fucking musician. I'd fucking be miserable, I tell you. So, the Extreme album, The First Nothing, coming out 31st of October. Devil's Night, as it were, full moon on a Saturday as well. So, the first single, which was the first single that's come out already?
Rot With Me.
Okay, so that's the first one that's come out. Okay, so I'm gonna give you guys this. The Resurrectionist and Cold Black are my favorites, but I have to. It's a toss-up between the two. I'm gonna put the Cold Black on when it does get released, the album on the 31st of October worldwide. I'm gonna put the Cold Black on my Talk Trev playlist on Spotify because it is leaning more back towards my what I'm more accustomed to. But the album is fucking brutal. It is fucking heavy. But it has got a lot of fucking nice grooves and licks to it, and I like that a lot. So, guys, congratulations on the album. It's fucking beautiful, very well produced and mixed by Damian. So, guys, thank you so much for taking the time out to chat to me, and all the best of luck. And if you ever come down in Cape Town, give us a nudge, and we'll love to come out and see you guys play live.
Most definitely.
Thank you so much, man.
Not a problem, guys. Okay, keep safe.
You too, man.
You too, man.
Cheers.
Cheers.